wants to tackle these tough issues. They are not Republican or Democratic issues. They are Arizona issues, and we need to come together to solve them. I'm still hopeful that we can do that.
Governor,
yes.
Talk about the rainy day, but as you know, Governor Ducey, he was more than just reluctant to not even touch it. He was just all out afraid to use it. As far as funding goes, are you a little bit more aggressive? Will you be more willing to tap into that? There's $5 billion in there.
We are not facing a rainy day right now, and you won't see us tap into it in the budget we release on Friday.
You mentioned that the previous administration had been sitting on a report about the 100-year water supply in the Far West Valley. How long has that report been available, and when did you discover it, and can you talk more about your decision to release it now?
I believe it's been available for a few months, but I don't want to put that. Murphy, can we confirm that? Yeah, thank you. And then we found out about it in our conversations with the ADWR director in the last few weeks, and he wanted to release it and was held back by the previous administration from doing so.
Did he explain why he was held back?
There's a lot of developers that don't want that information to come out because it'll affect their projects that are in the pipeline.
So is that something that could inhibit housing growth in the West Valley, though?
I think that we can't tackle this issue if we don't know exactly what we're facing, and we have this dual challenge, right? We have to balance our need to address the housing crisis with our need to address water shortages, and I called leaders in those communities earlier today to give them a heads up and talked about how we need to work together, and they were all willing to do so, and so they recognize the challenge we're facing as well.
So, Governor, along those lines, I mean, how do you think about growth in the West Valley with this water issue?
I mean, the fact is that if we continue down the path we're continuing on, the aquifers are going to dry up, and we have to address that. And so that this report gives us a baseline to move forward. The fact is we've overcommitted water, and so it's a big issue, and there's no easy answers to solving it.
Governor, as we saw in some of the reactions, whatever you want to say about the gestures that were made by some of the lawmakers today, clearly it might be a struggle to find some common ground in the legislature. You talked a lot about education today. If you're picking your battles, choosing where to spend your political capital, is that an indication that that's going to be at the top of your list if you're going to have to make some tough choices this year?
I mean, I think you can evaluate it by the amount of time that was spent on that issue. It was the bulk of the speech, and I think it's the most important issue we're facing, along with, and probably the area that's going to be harder to find common ground. I think water and housing are two areas that we really can, and education is going to be a little bit harder.
Do you foresee having to call a special session on education, particularly if the aggregate spending cap is not passed?
I think that's the biggest thing is the AEL, right? And if we need to call a special session to get it done, we will. It's really a resolution, and so I'm hopeful that we don't need to do that.
Is Cook's resolution a one-year fix, or are you looking at a more permanent fix?
Again, we can confirm. I'm pretty sure his resolution is just for the suspension for this year.
You talked about expanding the Auditor General's role in auditing any school that receives public funds. Is that a reference to charters or to schools that take ESAs?
It is all the schools that take public money, and so I think right now it's just the district schools that have to comply with that, and so it would be all schools.
Okay, but that charters specifically, or does that also include any private school that takes ESAs?
Charter schools, yes. ESAs is a trickier issue, right, in terms of tracking and accountability. Once the dollars are out of the hands of the state, they go to a parent. And so there's not a mechanism right now, nor does ADE have the capacity to, accountability is an issue all around when it comes to ESAs.
So that was specifically in reference to charters, that line in your speech?
Well, the belief is that every school that takes public money should have to be accountable to this. I think that it's more tricky when you get down into the actual mechanics of it.
So that would include private schools and ESAs as well?
Yes, yeah.
Can you clarify about reallocating the money from ESAs to the base fund?
That was not in my remarks. It is reallocating the performance-based funding that right now disproportionately benefits schools that need it less. And so our rural communities and economically struggling areas are being left out of these funds. JJ, yeah.
Is the state on a sustainable growth path, or is the extreme or the exponential sort of low cost of growth, is that era behind us given the water situation?
I think we have some really tough choices in front of us about water, and I think that not everyone is going to be able to have everything that they want. And those are some really tough realities that it's going to take leadership and partnership to deal with. We haven't been willing to do that. We've been trying to take the easy way out, and this is not an easy situation.
Well, which raises an interesting problem. Go ahead.
Yeah, can we continue to grow at the rate that we have been growing, since through the 90s, 80s, 90s, 2000s?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, a lot of what we're facing in terms of Colorado River shortages is that we're more of the snowfall is being absorbed, and there's less runoff, and that's caused by climate change. It's not something that we can fix by using less water. So it's very complicated.
And following up on that report, knowing what you know now, should we be bringing close to 1 million people to Buckeye? And if not, is there anything you can do to stop those developments, which seems already kind of be in progress, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not suggesting, there's a lot in that question I don't have answers to. So I think we'll have to look more into that. And I think part of the water policy task force that I announced is to get at those answers and what we need to do to balance our need to continue to house people and our water shortages.
Do you have a personal opinion on whether we should be building all that new stuff on the west side?
I don't know that my opinion in this matters. I think we have housing shortages and we have water shortages. We need to balance it.
But that becomes sort of a NIMBYism, like we're here, I moved here in '74, the rest of you guys go away.
That is not what I said.
Yeah. But if in fact there is limited water, I realize ag uses 70%, but so far that's protected by law. If there's limited water, at what point do we say, no, you can't build here because we can't serve you?
Those are answers I hope the Water Policy Task Force comes up with.
So we've got time for one more question.
Yeah.
You mentioned inviting Secretary Mayorkas to visit the border.
Yeah.
I wonder if you've gotten a response to that?
That invitation just went out today.
Okay, and do you expect, I mean, Governor Ducey tried to get the Secretary to the border infinite amount of times, perhaps with different tone, but why do you think your invitation would be received any differently?
We've had several conversations with the White House about the border, and we've seen movement. There was new policy announcements last week. The president is at the border today. So as I mentioned in my remarks, I'm very encouraged by this seeming progress, and I think that approach matters. I want to talk about how we can work on this issue in partnership and address the real issues. I know that leaders in our border communities aren't feeling heard by the federal government, and they want to be heard and have the issues that they're facing as the result of being a border community heard. And I've expressed that to the White House and how important that kind of visit would be to that.
Do you think the Biden plan can work? Can the Biden plan work?
Can we do this weekly?
We're working on it. I promise we're working on it. Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much.
Last question.
Yes. Thank you.